Okay, folks. Square roots today. Section 9.1. There we go. No, that's not right. I want this pen. There we go. Square roots. Okay, guys, let's get right into it. If I square a number, 8 squared, that means 8 times 8 is equal to 64. But you know what we're going to talk about today is this little symbol here. It's called a radical, all right? And it undoes this, right? It undoes the squaring. Undoes. I guess that's a word. Does it undo it? I wanted to undo the square, and this does that. Okay. So the square root of 64 is equal to 8. All right? But I need to there's some notation that we need to know here, okay? And the notation is that if I have just the radical sign in 64, that means 8. But if I have the negative radical sign in 64, that means I want negative 8. Because think about this. Negative 8 times negative 8, right? Let me put them in parentheses here. That also equals 64. And this radical sign right here, and I'll try and, this thing right here is called a radical sign. It's asking us a question. It's saying what number multiplied by itself equals the thing that's underneath. And in this case, it's 64. Okay? All right, so it's asking us that question. Well, it could be 8 or it could be negative 8. So if I have it, if there's nothing in front of it, like this one, that means they want the positive. If there's a negative in front of it, that means they want the negative. But there's one other that I haven't shown you yet, and that is an equation. X squared equals 64. If I want to solve that, I need to undo the squaring, right? So I take the square root, and that takes away this square root sign. It undoes it. So it's just x. But remember, this is algebra. So if I do it to the left side, I have to do it to the right side. But what can x be? That's what solving an equation means, is find out what x can be. Well, x can be 8 or it can be negative 8. We can also abbreviate that answer by writing a positive sign over a negative sign. We always do it that way. Plus or minus 8. Okay? So there are 3 different notations. This means I want the positive. This means I want the negative. This means you got to give me both of them. Oh, I don't like it like that. Okay? This means you got to give both of them. All right? Now, guys, a perfect square is a number whose square root is a whole number. For instance, 1, because its square root equals 1. The next perfect square is 4 because its square root equals 2. The next perfect square is 9 because its square root equals 3. The next perfect square is 16 because its square root equals 4, and I think you get the idea. Okay? Perfect squares are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100. Okay? And it goes on forever. Okay, so those are perfect squares. Now, there's one other thing that you've got to know from this. And that is if, and I'm going to box it in up here in the notes, okay? If we take the square root of a number that's not a perfect square, the result is an irrational number. Cortez, what is an irrational number? What are you talking about? Guys, remember, rational numbers can be written as ratios, right? Otherwise known as, or AKA, fractions. An irrational number cannot be written as a fraction. That means there's no number divided by another number that gives us the value of that root. Okay? So if I take the square root of 16, the square root of 16 equals 4. The square root of 25 is equal to 5. The square root of 20 is somewhere in between. 4 point something, something, something. And this goes on forever and ever. I wish I could write forever, right? It never repeats. Never repeats. It's irrational, like pi. Okay? All right, guys. Good job. I think we're ready for the first example, and I'm almost out of time. See you at example 1.